that sounds great, mate. Thumbs up emoji. I be awaiting your answer whilst holding me breath like a humpback whale. Clock emoji. This mayhaps be the best day ever if it all works out. Firework emoji, celebration emoji, and send.
Ahoy, Driftwood!
What in the world? Oh, Guppy, you be scaring me, mate. With your greeting. Can't you see I be in the middle of something important?
Apologies, mate. What you be going on about?
It could be that Driftwood Magellan could be Captain Yellowbelly's next first mate. I be awaiting to hear. It be what the landlubbers call a cell phone. Be much faster than our old carrier pigeons.
Yar?
Yar.
What happened to Yellowbella's old first mate?
Sea urchins.
Huh?
Sea urchins. Guppy, I know you be a new pirate and all, and still wet behind the ears, but what be the deal with your pants?
I be trying to hold 'em up and all, but they keep trying to fall down and I don't want me other mates to, see me under pants.
You're... Never mind that. I think I know how to help.
Aye?
Aye. Remember when we learned about the armor of God? And how it protects us in the spiritual battles against the enemy, Satan and his army of demons.
Aye, mate. God's armor helps defend us against the attack of the enemy.
Ah, you have been paying attention.
But Driftwood, what does it have to do with me pants?
What you need is a belt. To hold up your pants, protect your middle. It reminds me of the belt of truth, part of the armor of God.
The belt of truth? I don't know what you be getting at. How does the belt tell the truth? It doesn't speak at all.
No, that's not what I mean. Hear ye this. Your old friend, Driftwood Magellan. Explain it to you so that the... Fast!
Well, Driftwood, what does it say?
It says, I get to be the next first mate! Woo!
Woo!
Guppy, you said you didn't want to be showing your underpants, but you have on second pants?
Too late now, and I didn't say underpants. I said underpants. These pants go under me other pants.
Guppy, I think you be needing to get your head checked. But never in me mind. Let's go get you a belt from the armory. To the ship!
To the ship!
Hey you guys! Last time we talked about a battle that's happening all around us. Can we see the battle? Nope. It's kind of an invisible battle, and it's not a battle between people. Who is this battle between? Yeah, the enemy's army is trying to do anything it can to pull people away from God and keep them from joining God's army. But can God be defeated? No way! God is already victorious, but the enemy will just keep fighting and fighting, so we need to be prepared for battle. That's why God provided us with his armor, to protect us. When you become a child of God, you become a part of God's army. Some of you have already done that. But have you put on your armor yet? I'm not talking about actual physical armor that you can see and touch. I'm talking about spiritual armor, which protects your mind and your heart from the enemy's attacks. Our series is all about the armor of God, and today we're going to focus on the belt of truth. Take a look at this picture. This is a drawing of what a Roman soldier might have looked like a long time ago. You can see that he has a bunch of different pieces of armor on for battle, and we're going to look at this each week so you can see exactly what kind of armor we're talking about. Listen to the beginning of our memory verse to see what the first piece of armor is. Stand firm then, with a belt of truth buckled around your waist. Here's a belt on a Roman soldier. It is buckled tightly around his waist. They could hang their sword on it so it was always ready to be used, and the belt protected the middle part of their body while supporting them when they moved around in battle. So let's pretend I'm a soldier, but I go into battle without my belt. The enemy is coming toward me with their weapon drawn. I reach for my sword, but it's not there. I turn to run away, but my breastplate is loose and feels heavier, and I'm not able to move as quickly. I check behind me, but the enemy is right there. Well, what happens? Yeah, it probably wouldn't be good. So, is the belt important? Yes! God wants us to put on the belt of truth. For all the other pieces of our armor to work correctly and for us to be prepared for battle, we need to know and believe the truth from God. But sometimes it's not easy to know what is actually true. Sometimes we think we might know the truth, but we can't be sure unless we go and find out the truth for ourselves. Let me try to show you what I mean. Here is a picture of Mr. Mike. He once jumped out of an airplane at 10,000 feet in the air. He also rode the highest roller coaster in the world one time. And believe it or not, he loves to eat grilled cheese sandwiches with grape jelly. Those are all fascinating things about Mr. Mike. But one of those statements is actually false. Can you tell which is a lie? Well, we went to the source, and Mike told us that he doesn't really like heights unless he has a parachute. So the roller coaster story is actually not true. Just like we needed to go to the source to figure out what was true about Mr. Mike, we should always do our research and double check things we hear about to find out if they are really true. And when it comes to the things God wants us to know, our source of truth is His Word, the Bible. So, when God tells us to put on the belt of truth, He means that we need to read the Bible and believe that what He says is true. Because the belt of truth is believing what God says. Let's say that bottom line together. The belt of truth is believing what God says. We're going to look at some men from the Bible who knew God's truth, who stood firm in it and would not give in to lies, even when it was a matter of life and death.
Stories of the Bible, the fiery furnace. There once were 3 Jewish men named Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego.
Hey!
When they were very young, they were taken from Israel to live in a place called Babylon. At that time, the king of Babylon was a man named Nebuchadnezzar.
That's it. Almost there.
And he made a gold statue that was 90 feet tall.
Perfect.
The king sent a message for everyone to come to the dedication of his statue. When everyone had assembled, it was declared that people of all races, nations, and languages would bow before the statue and worship King Nebuchadnezzar's statue when they heard the sound of musical instruments. If anyone refused, they would be thrown into a fiery furnace. So at the sound of the musical instruments, all the people bowed to the ground and worshiped. But Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego did not, because they were Jewish and would only bow to the one true God. Some of the wise men of Babylon went to the king and told him that Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego refused to bow to the statue.
What?
This made the king very angry, and he asked Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego if it was true that they would not bow to the statue. Then he said he would give them one more chance to bow down, and if they did not bow, they will be thrown into the fire. Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego replied that they didn't need to defend themselves against the king. They said, "If we are thrown into the blazing furnace, the God whom we serve is able to save us. He will rescue us from your power, your majesty. But even if he doesn't, we want to make it clear to you, your majesty, that we will never serve your gods or worship the gold statue you have set up." The king was so angry with Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego that he commanded the furnace to be heated 7 times hotter than usual. Then he ordered Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego to be bound and thrown in the fire. The fire was so hot that it killed the soldiers that threw them in. So Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego fell into the flames. But suddenly, the king jumped up and said to his advisors, "Didn't we tie up 3 men and throw them in the furnace?" The advisors said, "Yes." But the king said, "Look, I see 4 men walking around the fire, and the 4th looks like a god." Then the king shouted to Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego, "Come out!" So Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego stepped out of the fire, and everyone saw that the fire had not touched them. They didn't even smell of smoke. Then Nebuchadnezzar praised the one true God of Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego, who had rescued them from the fire. And the king made a new command that anyone who spoke a word against the God of Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego would be greatly punished. Then he promoted Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego in his court. Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego trusted in God and were willing to die rather than worship any god but their own God.
Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego were not afraid because they knew God's truth. God's truth told them that they should only worship the one true God. God's truth told them they could trust God with their lives. God's truth told them it's better to obey God than man. They knew how important God's truth was. And that's why it's important for us to remember that the belt of truth is believing what God says. Now, you may get thoughts in your head that seem right. Or you may read or hear about something that sounds like it could totally be true. But always remember that what you believe should match up with what God says is true. Since it can be so hard to know if something is true or not, we should get in the habit of reading the Bible every day so we can learn what He wants us to know and believe. Then, stand firm on what God says is true. That's how we can be protected by the belt of truth. The belt of truth is the first piece of armor that God tells us to put on because it is such an important piece of armor. It holds up all the rest of the armor. If we aren't standing firm on God's truth, then our other armor won't be as secure. The strength of the other pieces of God's armor comes from first believing and obeying His truth. The belt of truth is believing what God says. I'm so glad that what God says is totally 100% true. God never lies. He never makes mistakes. He never has to guess because He is truth. And so I choose to believe God and what He says. Do you? If you're a child of God, remember, the world, other people, and the enemy may try to trick you into believing things that are not true. So, put on the belt of truth every day. Remember that what God says is true. And we all need to remember that the belt of truth is believing what God says. Goodbye, guys. Have a great day.